Buffs Nation, what's good? Welcome back to Common Sense Buffs. I'm back again to bring you the latest on Colorado Buffaloes football in the Coach Prime era. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without some dope content to react to. Guys, the last video that I dropped, you guys have been going crazy on that video. The engagement is off the hook. There are a lot of people subscribing to this channel. So go ahead and join the movement and let people know you were here day one when we first got started. So before I get into the content today, I got to give a shout out to all of the people who are recent subscribers of the show. So big shout out to Boozak 100. Salute to you. All right. A new subscriber, Hurambe. Big shout out to Hurambe. And last but not least, big shout out to VW Thomas 30311. All right. So those are the newest Common Sense Buffs family members. If I don't call your name, that's probably because your subscriptions are private. So I can't see that you're subscribed. Big shout out to everybody who was down in the chat giving their predictions for this season. Big shout out to men like Eric Simmons. Big shout out to the one and only my guy East Coast Kev. Big shout out to Charles Muhammad. Big shout out to James Hunter and all of you out there who are keeping this content lit and at the top of the algorithm so people can see this and subscribe, like, and share. All right. This is an unusual episode for me. I'm not a big recruiting guy, but with what's happening in Colorado, the recruiting is off the charts. I think one of the most important pieces that Coach Prime added to this coaching staff this year was Coach Devin Respris over in the recruiting team because recruiting in Boulder is going crazy. And listen, this is what happens when your team wins and you have the kind of platform that Coach Prime has built in Colorado. All right. So we're going to dive into the Buffs recruiting success, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Guys, you cannot convince me that Colorado is not a defensive team. This 8-2 success and heading into the game with Kansas State, it's going to be about this defense continuing to get better, put pressure on the quarterback, step on the run game, and create turnovers. But let me tell you right now, I know you saw the thumbnail, right? And I got that thumbnail from Christian Hudson, who we'll be talking about. I got that from his Twitter page. But there are some very exciting prospects to talk about, and winning is not just going to be good for them to go to the conference championship. It's not only going to be good for them to potentially go to the college football playoffs, but it's going to be good for them in high school recruiting and in the transfer portal. I'll touch on the transfer portal later on. I think it's a little bit too early for that, but you know the transfer portal is going to be jumping as well. A lot of guys are going to want to come to Boulder and play in that environment. So let's talk about some of these exciting prospects right now. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball, even though this video is not about offense. All right. Colorado has been targeting five-star QB JuJu Lewis since last year. JuJu was committed to USC, but recently he attended games in Boulder and he has officially decommitted from USC. And the buzz is that both so he's a five-star quarterback, we need an heir apparent to Shedeur Sanders. And I know he's going to have to work for it, right? He's coming to school. I know he expects to play because he's that kind of player. But, Colorado still has quarterbacks in that room who have played in that system. They're not just going to lay down and let a freshman come in and take their job. So that should be a great environment for development. So we know we need JuJu as the heir apparent to Shedeur Sanders. But along with him, we also got a crystal ball of Carday Smith. If Colorado could land both JuJu Lewis at the quarterback spot and four-star offensive lineman Carday Smith, who's also committed to USC, if we could lock those two in, the offense is going to continue to trend in the right direction, especially up front with the likes of Jordan Seaton, now Carday Smith. I think the other kid's name is Chauncey Gooden. Of course, we have Cash Cleveland starting to play very well up front. And I know more and more offensive linemen in the transfer portal and in recruiting are going to be interested in coming here. So on the offensive side of the ball, they're taking care of business. But I want to focus on the defensive side of the ball because of that photo, like I said, I got from Christian Hudson's Twitter page. Coach Prime and his staff are building a unit that can dominate for years to come. This is not going to be oh, they were real good when Shador and Travis were there, but after they left, that team really fell off. I'm going to talk about some big time defensive commits and targets that are going to make this defense exciting for years to come. First off, let's talk about the committed already. Let's talk about Christian Hudson, a 4-star defensive lineman out of Daytona Beach, Florida, standing at 6'1" and 280 pounds. So he's stocky. He has some weight to him. But at the next level, they're going to put more weight to him. And when Colorado Strength and Conditioning gets a hold of this kid, he's going to be a monster. And he's already a force in the trenches. Now, let me go through some of his stats here real quick so we can get a sense of it. So he's 6'1", 280 pounds. Like I said, he's out of Mainland High School in Daytona Beach, Florida, class of 2025. This information is coming from 24/7 Sports. He was ranked as a 4-star. At least I think he's still ranked as a 4-star on ESPN, but he's committed to Colorado now. So, of course, he lost a star. Right now on 24/7 Sports, he's a 3-star defensive lineman. He's number 37, the number 37 defensive lineman in the country, and he's the number 49 player in Florida. Looking at his composite average, where they take all of the recruiting websites and do an average, he is a 3-star on average across all of the recruiting websites. He's the 491st ranked player nationally. He's the 53rd defensive lineman, and he's the 66th player in Florida when you look at the composite. He was crystal balled to UCF. And I think shortly after that UCF game where Colorado went and showed out, he visited Colorado and they were able to flip him successfully. Other teams that were on his radar: Iowa, Maryland, Iowa State, and UCF. Of course, now he is committed to the Colorado Buffaloes as a hard commit, effective October 25th, 2024. Now, what does the scouting report say about him? Now, this was written by Andrew Ivins. Salute to you, Andrew Ivins, and the folks over at 24/7. This is what they say about him: a potential spark plug in the middle, a two-way lineman for a decorated mainland program that makes things happen on both sides of the ball. Oh, so I guess he plays offensive line as well. Under 6'1", but finds ways to win with leverage and effort. We see that from the likes of Chidozie Nwankwo. And working with Warren Sapp, he's going to be able to use that to Christian's advantage. Initially was viewed by some colleges as an offensive lineman at the next level, but made clear he wants to chase quarterbacks after racking up 9 sacks as an 11th grader. Impressive snap anticipation jolts him forward, while active hands allow him to disengage and swipe past would-be blockers. So he already has some game down in the trenches. Oftentimes aware of his surroundings and is agile enough to stop and retrace. Also has a knack for getting his hands up in passing lanes despite being on the smaller side. Might lack ideal measurables, but projects as a win at all cost interior defender that can push pockets. Likely to find most success in an even front, so probably like a 4-3, which is what I think we run. Or we run a 4-2-5 most of the time, but has experience working out of a variety of different alignments. So I love to see it. That was the scouting report. And he reminds me kind of, from a size perspective, Chidozie Nwankwo, and maybe Mari McNeil. So if you're thinking about reloading that room, I believe we're going to have Keaton Wade coming back. We're going to have Amari McNeil coming back. We're going to probably see the freshman Brandon Davis Swain, who I believe was a 4-star out of high school. We haven't seen him play, or at least I haven't seen him play so far this season, who they moved, I believe, from an edge rusher to interior. And I'm sure Sapp and D. Lou and Dancy are putting him to work to make sure that he's ready for next year. Who are some other returners? I don't know. Maybe Arden Walker might be back next year. So this front is reloading and adding players. Tafiq Thomas continues to improve. Anquin Barnes continues to improve. And now they're adding kids out of high school like Christian Hudson to keep that line fortified for years to come. So all of his junior year statistics are these: 70 tackles, 27 tackles for loss. So he plays on the other side of the football with 9 sacks. He lives in the backfield, and that's exactly the kind of disruptor we need on the D line. No wonder they went after and got him. Went after him and got him because he's a Boulder type player for these Colorado Buffaloes. All right, guys, who are the recruits that you're most excited about? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Is it on the offensive side of the ball? Is it on the defensive side of the ball? Who are you watching? Where do you think these players are going to end up, the ones that you're watching? Do we have a crystal ball on them? I'd love to hear your opinions. All right, next up, the guy in the middle. So if you're looking at the thumbnail, Christian Hudson is the guy to the left. The guy in the middle of that photo rocking that number 1 jersey is none other than Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, linebacker. He's a 4-star linebacker from IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Of course, we have IMG alums on the team right now, starting as freshmen and balling out. And that's Jordan Seaton, the 5-star that came to Colorado, and Cash Cleveland, the preferred walk-on, who is now starting at center. So Nathaniel he's 6'1.5" and 205 pounds, and he has size and speed to play sideline to sideline. So you think Nathaniel Green and Bentley are going to be gone next year. Who's going to step into that linebacker spot? Of course, we have a couple of linebackers. One of my favorite players on the team, Jalen Wester, who continues to get better with each game, and he makes the most out of every opportunity he gets to be on the field. So I love Jalen Wester, but adding a guy like Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng and giving Coach Hart some time to really work with him as a freshman, I think is going to be very, very good for that linebacker room if we can acquire him. In his junior year, he totaled 45 tackles, including 6 tackles for loss and a sack. He also happens to be the younger brother of NFL linebacker Jeremiah Owusu Koroma. So you know that football is in his veins. So let's go ahead and look at Nathaniel's statistics here and a little bit about his scouting report. So like I said, he's a linebacker, 6 foot, 205 pounds out of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, class of 2025. He's a 4-star player. So on 24/7 Sports, he's ranked 158th nationally. He's ranked number 13 at the linebacker spot, and he's the 18th best player in Florida, according to 247 Sports. Now, 247 Sports Composite still has him as a 4-star. He is ranked 103rd nationally. He's the number 8 linebacker, and he's the number 14 player in the state of Florida. Currently, 247 Sports has him crystal balled to Michigan, but he also has either offers or is considering Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and USC. But he is part of that IMG crew that came out to Boulder again as the Buffaloes are heating up. IMG are taking notice because they have 2 of their alum that are in that starting lineup on the offensive line. So more of those boys want to see what it's about in Boulder because many of these guys want to come in and they want to play, right? They've seen what players like Dylan Raiola at quarterback over at Nebraska have been able to do. They see what Ryan Williams over at Alabama is doing, and they definitely see what Jeremiah Smith is doing, and they want to come and play for a program that's going to allow them to do that. So let's read his scouting report here again by Andrew Ivins, Director of Scouting at 247 Sports. Shout out to you. He said, speed and space linebacker that can hawk down ball carriers and spy quarterbacks. Tipped the scales at just over 6 foot, 200 pounds, and appears to still have some growth potential with his lean, muscular build. Started prep career off in the DMV before arriving at IMG Academy, where he emerged as a team leader in advance of his senior season. At his best in chase mode, has been shown over the years that he's willing to attack blockers or play around them, tends to strike opponents when the opportunity presents itself, has proven to be rather effective against the pass, so he can cover too. And Nathaniel Green being a former safety, you can see how he covers in space, and now the interceptions are finally coming. He has proven to be rather effective against the pass as he's athletic and agile enough to mirror tight ends, which we need a linebacker that can really play against the tight end underneath or down the seam. Should be viewed as a potential impact player at the power 4 level. Might lack the payload at this stage, meaning the size, to hold up against true downhill run games, but sideline to sideline range could lead to plenty of success on Saturday. So big shout out, man. Nathaniel, I know you're thinking about it. Where else would you want to play except on in Folsom Field in prime time every single game of the season? All right, last but not least, let's talk about London Merritt. London Merritt is a four-star edge rusher, also from IMG Academy, standing at 6 foot 2.5 inches, weighing 250 pounds. Merritt is a nightmare for offensive tackles. He's committed to Ohio State, the venerable Ohio State. He committed earlier this year, but has since reopened his recruitment, and Colorado is making a strong push. So he's the guy in the photo to the far right that I have as a thumbnail. Merritt has impressive speed for his size, having posted a 12.48 in the 100-meter dash back in 2022 at 250 pounds. That's crazy. His athleticism and pass rushing skills would be a huge addition to the Buffs defense. And with that, I agree. I mean, look at the players that he's playing. He's seeing play when he comes to Boulder. He's seeing Keaton Wade. He's seeing Arden Walker. He's seeing BJ Green. He's seeing Tajay McCoy. He's seeing these guys get play time and make an impact, and he sees the kind of defense that they run, right? As long as you stop the run, Coach Rob Livingston and those defensive line coaches are going to let you guys loose to go after the quarterback. So what better defense would you want to be playing in if you were an edge rusher? So let's take a look at London's scouting report here. So he's an edge, like I said, 6'2", 250 pounds, out of IMG Academy. 247 Sports has him as the 25th best edge player in the country and 31st best player in Florida. As the composite, he's still a 4-star. He's the 144th ranked player in the country. He's the 13th ranked edge, and he's the 24th best player in Florida. Of course, he was committed or is committed right now to Ohio State, but he has opened his recruiting. It looks like a couple of schools on his list are Colorado, North Carolina, Alabama, and Arkansas. All right, let's see what the scouting report says about him. This is, again, Andrew Ivins over at 247 Sports. He says, heavy-handed defender that looks like a natural fit as a power end in a 3-4 or 4-3, but could ultimately settle in as a full-time 3 technique at the next level. Spent much of his junior season working out of a 2-point stance in an odd front for Georgia's 6A runner-up. Jolts offensive tackles and tight ends with a formidable punch and can pick up quick wins by sliding and dipping his way around blockers. If you watch his highlight tape, you can see he has a nasty swim move. Although the sack total doesn't always show for it, flashes some instincts as a run defender and uses impressive short area quickness to make stops in pursuit as he changes course and keeps the legs pumping. Transferred to IMG Academy in advance of his senior season and posted impressive testing times at the Powerhouse's annual Pro Day. More notably, checked in at roughly 6'2" and a half inches, 250 pounds. Projects as a multi-year starter at the Power 4 level, must improve anchor technique and keep progressing as a rusher, but has plenty of developmental upside. And that's what you see from a lot of these high school guys, man. They're dominant in high school, but college is a different game. And so working with the strength and conditioning coaches at Colorado and working with Warren Sapp and the rest of the defensive staff, I think these 3 guys have the potential to be an outstanding transition from what we have on our defense at, let's say, call it the line, Christian Hudson to replace Chidozie Nwankwo, Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng to replace Nakai Hill-Green, and London Merritt to replace a BJ Green. All right, Coach Prime and Coach Respis and Coach Phillips, they are changing the game in Boulder. They're not just bringing in talent. He's building a culture of excellence. These defensive 1 commit and 2 who are strongly considering are testaments to that long-term vision that Prime will be in Boulder for the foreseeable future. With players like Hudson, Owusu-Boateng, and potentially Merritt, the Buffs defense is poised to be dominant. I mean, an absolute dominant force in the coming years. All right, Buffs Nation, that was the rundown on our defensive recruiting. What do you think about these prospects? Drop your thoughts and comments. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep the momentum going as we build a powerhouse in Boulder, man. Listen, we got to get to 250 subs. We're right around the corner from that, and you guys have been running it up. This is Common Sense Buffs, where we keep it real, keep it fun, and always rep the Buffs. Sko Buffs.